I have been just walking around my office, just waiting for 10:30 to get here so I could start my class. Never mind that it starts at 10 o'clock. Gee whiz. I signed in to Zoom at around 9:30. So like I was ahead, but behind all at the same time. So here we go. Let's get nice and warmed up. If you're okay with it, I'll still go the full hour. I'll still go until 11:04 or 11:15. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
Okay. I didn't know if you had somewhere to be, so I want to be respectful of that. But at the same time, want to do our full hour. Well, I like to have the full hour.
Oh yeah, I enjoy it.
So I want to let you know that one reason why my brain isn't quite right is that last night was our Friday night football game. But as you know, last night was Monday, but because of that hurricane, we didn't play our Friday night game on Friday. We played it last night. So I didn't get into bed until after 1 o'clock in the morning.
You have a right to start slow today.
I am just all kinds of messed up. I feel like I feel like I'm getting strep throat, but I know it's because of all the screaming that we did last night. We played Pierce County, which is one of our big rivals. We have not beat them. And my son's a 12th grader, and we have not beat them since he was in 7th grade. So it's been a few years, but we beat them last night, 28-17.
Congratulations.
So I'm so excited, but my brain is mush. It's absolute mush. And my throat is sore from screaming. I was a lunatic. I came home last night and told my daughter, oh, my feet hurt. She said, you didn't sit down the whole game and you jumped up and down.
That's the joy of being there, though, isn't it?
Oh, goodness. So it was a fun game to be at. All right. So let's think about our body awareness. And I'm going to be watching to see if I need to let anybody in. But it will be on recording for anybody who thought they missed class and thought I wasn't coming. So it'll be on recording. But let's think about body awareness, where we have good posture, like that string that pulls up to the ceiling and down towards the floor at the same time. Nice relaxed shoulders. Our feet are about shoulder width or hip width apart. Weight on both legs. And then we have that nice soft bend in our knee versus locked knees that's standing straight up. So that's our body structure when we do our Tai Chi. So let's start with our neck, bringing those hands up, palms down, toward our chin and chest, push away from our body, and follow those hands all the way down, chin to chest. Come back up. Chin to chest, push away, and follow those hands all the way down. Warming up that neck. Our neck exercise starts out the same way. Let's drop one hand to the hip and follow this one towards our shoulder, back to front. Switch hands and go to the other side. Nice stretch in that neck. Helping our neck be more mobile. I always think about driving. So I can look and see, make sure nobody's in that lane so I can get over. Or look that way and make sure nothing's coming so I can turn. We almost take it for granted until it's not working. And reminded how important it is we have a mobile neck. Now for our shoulders. Let's roll those shoulders forward. And then roll those shoulders back. So small circles. I like to think about a size of a quarter, but I think mine tend to be $50 circles. Just feels like a massage you give yourself. Well, let's do our big circles where we bring our hands up, palms up, and push down in front of us. I like to inhale as I come up and exhale as I push down. And even thinking about gentle resistance here, like the air was very dense and we have to use a little extra muscle to push up and down through it. One more. Let's grab our ball, separating the heavens and the earth, stretching that spine. We're pushing up and down at the same time. Come back to our ball and switch. Remember, keeping that soft bend in our elbows, not completely extending those, locking our joints. We keep open, that's called an open joint or a song joint, S-O-N-G. And that helps that good energy flow through our bodies as we do our Tai Chi. I think my camera's just a little bit off. I'll fix it in just a second. Which it might not matter once we get through with these. Back to our ball. Let's take it side to side. Small little trip. Stopping just above that thigh, switching our hands. Hands on top. Lets us know what direction to go. Continuing to breathe. Reminding yourself, or just checking to make sure you're not holding your breath. Back to center. Now for our hips. So this is where we start the weight transference. It makes it a little more difficult. So have a chair nearby, or I really like this table in here because I know for sure it's stable and it's at a really good height for me. But have it nearby just in case. We're going to double check our body structure. Shifting the weight to one leg. Heel forward, hands back, pause in the middle, and toe back like a kickstand, arms forward. Come back to center, shift the weight to that other leg, heel forward, hands back, pause, toe back, hands forward. I'm switching legs each move to give that stable leg a break. Because if we were to hold our weight on that one leg and do 3 leg swings, then that leg might get really fatigued. So we give it a break, and then it's just another opportunity to do weight transfer, which is good in improving the strength of our stabilizer muscles. That's one of our principles for our Tai Chi, is that weight transfer. So for years, I stayed on that one leg. So I'm now trying to create this new habit. So forgive me if I ever revert back. But I like the shifting the weight from one leg to the other with each. I call it a leg swing because in dance, that's what that would be. Now let's shift our weight from side to side. We have our hands stacked. Our hands go in the direction of the weight shift. And then if we feel okay with it, taking that leg and tapping it out, bringing it back, changing our hands, shifting the weight, lift and tap. So the weight shift is so important here But if you tap that foot out, that's like a check that all of that weight was transferred. And then a challenge to keep your body upright as you shift weight to the side. There's a tendency to want to lean, but once we start leaning, we're going towards falling. And that definitely goes against what we're trying to accomplish here. So that made me think about fall, and it is obviously fall. We are finally getting some fall weather. So they have all the decorations at Walmart that has like welcome fall and whatever. I love fall. I don't know what all they all say, but I think I'm going to go to Walmart and get the one that just says fall, and I'm going to take the embroidery thread and embroider don't. So it'll say don't fall, since we do. And I'm going to put it in my Tai Chi class. So it'll say don't fall. That I've been thinking about that now that fall's come around. I'm like, no, we don't like falls. We don't like fall. So part of the reason why we do Tai Chi is to help improve our balance so that there's a less chance of falling. All right, so next is for our knees. We have a loose fist. I like mine down by the hips, but you can have them a little higher as long as you don't have tension in those shoulders. But we're going to shift the weight to one leg, lift a foot, tap out the toe, and punch with that opposite hand. Bringing that foot back, shift the weight, lift, tap, and punch. Take your time as you shift the weight. We like to go slow, smooth, and continuous with our movements in Tai Chi, and that's challenging in itself. If we were to speed up this movement, it may even be a little bit easier because it relies on a different set of muscles, or not necessarily a different set, but our muscles work in a different way when we go faster. So definitely slowing it down makes it more challenging. Now we're going to step out and transfer the weight to that front foot. I'm going to turn to the side and show you that it's just a small step forward. I'm going to keep this foot in the back on the ground as I shift the weight to that front foot, shift it back, feet side by side, shift, step, heel, toe, shift to that front foot, shift it back. So it's important to keep that back foot on the floor, because once you raise that foot, you saw my body start going forward. And if I keep that foot on the floor, then I'm more stable in my stance. So just keep that in mind. As you shift the weight forward. And you don't have to shift all of your weight to that front foot. You can still keep weight on that foot in the back. Taking your time and shifting the weight. I think I got off on my punches. The intention is that when I step out with this leg, I'm punching out with the opposite hand. I think I did it wrong that last time. Now for our ankles, crossing our hands here. You can have them here, you can have them here to the side, hold on to a chair, whatever works. There aren't any arm movements for our ankle exercises. So we shift the weight and we go heel, toe, heel, toe. Rocking that foot, bringing it back, shift the weight, and heel, toe with our other foot. Bringing it back, shifting the weight, Big toe, little toe. Side to side. This works on the mobility of our ankle joint. All these movements that we do from head to toe, that's their purpose, is to help with flexibility and mobility of our joints so that we have a different kind of control of our body. We're less stiff when our joints are mobile. And we know that sometimes stiffness feels like pain or leads to pain. Stiffness of our body sometimes can knot up our muscles, and that can cause pain. So just having a little bit of stretching routine from head to toe of each major joint is helpful for our bodies for sure. So those are our warm-ups. Do we have any questions about our warm-ups? Are you ready to move forward?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So we're going to do our basic 6 movements, starting with commencement. And we're going to just push ourselves through it this time. I'm not going to talk about each movement at first. We're just going to do it. And I'll tell you why. It's so that you can go, oh, I don't quite know that part really well. So that's what I need to work on. Sometimes we might not realize it, especially if me as your instructor is talking you through it. So let's go through it. Of course, I'm your leader and I'm doing it mirror image. So it's not like I'm leaving you on your own. I'm just kind of testing you to see maybe there's a spot where you're not as sure. And that's what we can work on. So here we go from the top, thinking about our posture. Where is our weight? And make sure you're breathing. Here we go. And commence. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. And close it out. Did any of those parts make you go, ooh, I need to work on that one a little more?
Some of them do, but I've been working on it a little bit with the pamphlets that you sent.
You're so good, Miss Legenia. I love it. That's that's like the best thing a teacher can hear is that her students think about it after class.
Yeah, I love to do it.
It's so relaxing. It feels really good. And it's nice to know that you're doing something good for yourself. So was there a part of it where you were like, yes, I got that one good. I know that one.
I think the one where you follow, I don't know the name, but where you follow your hand and switch.
Waving hands in clouds.
And yes.
That's, oh my gosh, that is a difficult move. So that's awesome that you feel really good about that movement. That is one of my favorite pull out movements. And the reason why is it's just a perfect example of our principles where we can do slow, smooth, and continuous as we're shifting the weight and stepping and shifting and stepping. And then, of course, the wave as we step. There's the slow, smooth, continuous. Of course, we can always think gentle resistance, just like you move and you're moving through dense air or moving through water. We always thinking about our posture, but that weight transfer. I always say that's where magic happens, when we transfer our weight and step sideways, Tai Chi walking, if you will. And then last week we talked about what? Spatial awareness. And so here, I'm not looking down at my feet, but I've done this enough to know that that right there is a good step for me to still be stable, to shift my weight, and then step in. So that was spatial awareness where I stepped in, and I know that that is a good space for me. Spatial awareness comes with time. When you're first learning Tai Chi, you may step a little bit too far. You may step a little bit too far in, out or in. And it takes time to really get that nice spatial awareness of where you are stable and safe and comfortable in moving sideways. So to me, waving hands in clouds is just a wonderful example of so many of our principles. And if you just sat down and only did that hand movement, how relaxing is that? Just side to side, breathing at your own pace. Because of the rhythm of the movement, even without the stepping, just the rhythm of that movement is relaxing. You feel tension kind of melt away as you get into that groove and rhythm of the movement. So I just love waving hands in clouds. You wave hands in clouds until you hit to a wall, and then you wave hands in clouds until you get to another space. You don't have to worry about how many times you've done it, even though technically in our movements, it's how many? Three steps when we actually do it in our Tai Chi movements. All right, so with that said, let's do it again. Our Tai Chi basic 6 movements. Get you a good breath. Check yourself for any tension that you may be holding in your body before we get started. And let that go. Fix your posture, fix any tension. And commence. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Here's our third set of steps. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. open and close. And close it out. Something I like to remind you of in that waving hands and clouds is that very last wave. So that very last one, the last one turns this way, turns to the right. You know that the next move is open and close. So make sure that you're not getting in a hurry to get to open and close. Make sure you're finishing that whole move. And I'm not saying it because I see you getting it wrong. It's just a good reminder. So especially if we're thinking about it, where we go all the way, then come back to center for open and close. And you saw how I engaged this hand and kind of pulled it back to center to do open and close. And I always think about that like it's a magnet. Like my left hand is a magnet. Here, hold on. Here's my magnet, pulling it to center so I can open and close. So that it's a turn, and then there's that final turn. Don't stop here and just do open and close. Make sure you're making the full final turn and then coming back to center. So that was something that I caught myself doing years ago. So I just try to remember to remind people, just in case they're doing the same mistake that I made. Same thing with the with our warm up. Whenever we're doing the knee warm up and we shift forward, and whenever I say make sure you leave that back foot on the floor, because I caught myself lifting my foot up as I shifted the weight. And I started feeling the difference whenever I shift here with that, bringing that heel up off the ground versus here. It's a whole different feeling of it in that weight shift. So it's just little things like that. We learn, sometimes we have to make the mistake ourselves, and that makes us the best learner. But it's really good if we can learn from other people's mistakes and we don't have to go through making the mistake or making the blunder. So I try to tell you things I've done, and so you can do better. Let's back up with, ma'am.
I feel it more in the back of my leg when
If you,
that is on the floor.
yeah, if you leave it down, then you stretch that your calf muscle in the back of your leg. But if you pull it up, then you're cheating yourself of that. So but it's very easy to do. It's also very easy to lean with that movement versus keeping an upright posture. So if you're here, you're shifting your weight forward. So it's very easy to lean into that knee, but the goal is to keep an upright posture and shift the weight. When you lean, you feel gravity yank on you. Gravity's trying to throw you forward, throw you down. Keeping an upright posture as you shift the weight and back. That makes a difference too. So then the next thing I was going to talk about is with commencement, the engagement of our wrists with commencement. So if we're comfortable with the movement and knowing that our hands come up, so we're out, remember we have a soft bend in our elbow, so we're away from our body, but we're not locked in our joint. So when we come up, if we're comfortable knowing we go up, then down, then in, up, out, and back in, we're good on that. We know those movements. We don't have to think about it anymore. Then we can start really thinking about the wrist involvement in that movement. So when our hands come up, You see, my fingers are kind of pointed down whenever I come up. So I'm not up where my fingers are pointed out. Now, let me back up and say, if you come up and your fingers are pointed out, that's not wrong. That's not a slap me on the hand moment. But if you're going to do it, why not get the most that you can out of it and engage your wrist? So when you come up, your fingers are pointed down a little bit so that you have that nice bend in your wrist. And then when you bring your hand or arms down, you see, I flicked my wrist. Now my fingers are more pointed towards the ceiling. Come down. So you see, the wrist is involved in that movement. And before we were just coming up and down, but now we can engage our wrist, up, down, in, out. So there our fingers are pointed out, and when we come in, we flicked our wrist here and brought those fingers pointed up towards the ceiling. So that's a way to make that movement more. We come up, fingers pointed down, down, fingers pointed up, in, our fingers are pointed out as we come up and go out. And then we bring them back and our fingers point up, and that gets us ready for open and close. So if you do that several times, then you start really feeling that in your wrist. Well, in our warm-up movements of our joints, we don't have a wrist moment. You know, we don't go, oh, these are the two for your wrist. I have some that come from the Arthritis Foundation exercise program. I think I've told it to you before, where you can have, I don't think, I may or may not have told y'all, but you bring your hands out straight in front of you. Your hands are together. Keeping your hands together, pull those hands straight back, and you'll start feeling a stretch in that top part of your wrist by pulling those wrists back. The key is to keep your hands together. If you start separate them, then you won't feel that stretch. But that right there is a nice stretch for your wrist joint. And we don't have that in Tai Chi. And you're in control of how far you bring it back, depending on when you feel that actual stretch. Another one is if you sit in a chair, especially if that has arms, or you can put your hand on the edge of a table like this. Instead of not having an arm, your hand is resting on the table. Putting your hand down and then pulling your hand up. You see that? So pretend that's my table. I have my wrist down, hanging off, and then I bring it up. So that's an exercise that can help your wrists. Again, like I said, we don't have specific exercises for our wrists, but that's just some that come from the People with Arthritis Can Exercise program. That can be helpful for you. So that whenever you do commencement and you engage your wrist, then those are just some extra things that you can do every wrist or every joint in our body risks the chance of getting arthritis. Arthritis, by definition, is inflammation of a joint. Now, there are hundreds of types of arthritis, but the number one type of arthritis is called osteoarthritis. And that is basically from wear and tear on your joints. And so we try to work on our muscles that are around our joints to make them strong so it supports our joints better. So the wrist. Okay, so we're working on our wrist here. Trying to keep arthritis away. Now, the Tai Chi program that we do is evidence-based for falls prevention. And so that's why I talk about falls prevention a lot and balance a lot. But it's also evidence proven to help with the pain from arthritis. So you can get a twofer here with Tai Chi, and it has to do with the strength of stabilizer muscles that support our joints. So you can imagine if your muscles are very weak, it puts a pressure on your joint that can cause pain. But if your muscle's strong, then it supports that joint and you'll have less pain. And so that's kind of how it works. So back to the wrist. Here we go. For commencement, bring those hands up, fingers pointed down, hands come down, fingers pointed up, in, up, out, and back, fingers pointed up to get ready for open and close. Okay, so that may not have been something that you thought about before, is the use of your wrist with commencement. So let's go through our basic 6 again, and keeping in mind the involvement of wrist when you do commencement. Here we go, and commence. Up. There you go. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. Close it out. All right, let's do it several times. In my class on Thursday, a lady said, we don't do it enough times in a row. And I need you to do it a lot of times in a row so I can get it. The more times I do it, the better I get at it. So let's just do it about 4 or 5 times in a row, and then see if you get more and more comfortable with it. And then if you have any particular questions, then let me know and we'll work on something particular. And if not, we'll start working towards getting to our advanced movements. All right, so here we go from the top. Like I said, we'll do it several times in a row. And commence. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. single whip, waving hands in clouds, open and close, and close it out. So one thing I noticed just now when I went through that is I come up and down in the bend of my knee. Here I'm squatted, but when I come up, my knees raise a little bit, and when I come down, I squat a little bit. So as I'm going through those movements, there's an up and down, just a tiny little bit with those knees. And that's what makes it a cardiovascular exercise is, okay, your heart is a pump. It pumps blood through your body, and it's like this, pump, pump, pump. So if you're going up and down, even if it's very slight up and down, then that's a pump. That's a pump. And that starts pumping that blood through your movement. And that's why Tai Chi is a cardiovascular exercise. Gets that blood pumping, gets that heart rate up, works that heart muscle. All right, let's do it again. And commence. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. May have just did an extra step. Open and close. Close it out. All right, let's do it again. And commence. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. And close it out. So do you feel like doing it over and over is helpful and you get better each time?
Yeah, I enjoy that, yes.
Yeah, it's nice. And look at us, it's 11 o'clock and we just had us a good practice today. And
Yes.
it's because in the beginning, it takes a while to really learn the new, all the pieces and parts of each movement. And so it can be frustrating at first because you feel like maybe you're not doing so much, but it just takes time. And for the sake of safety, I want you to really think about all these different things so that when you shift the weight, you're stable there. Whenever you take that step, it's the heel toe, shifting the weight, bringing the foot up. So not to rush through the learning so that you're learning to do it properly. And then we can practice and just start to get full benefits of the Tai Chi where we can, especially if we can do it and not have it so much talking, we can think about reducing stress and anxiety and maybe depression, where we just get that internal experience, that mental quietness that Tai Chi has to offer, along with the other things that we constantly talk about in improving balance, coordination, mobility, flexibility, reducing tension and stiffness in joints. We talk about that a lot. Talk, but we want to really get the benefits, and we get those by learning it and then practicing it. So let's do it again. And commence. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. And close it out. So I think I did an extra step on that last waving hands in clouds. But just know the Tai Chi police isn't going to come arrest you if you do one too many steps. I like to pull out what the Tai Chi walking to the side and take out this turn with the hands and just step, shift, step, and just walk sideways. And I don't have a hand movement. Now right here, I like to push my hand down as I shift the weight to that foot and pull my hand up as I release the weight. So sometimes I'll do this hand movement right here as I walk sideways, Tai Chi walking. It's the footwork of waving hands in clouds, but it's just a great way to practice weight shifting by doing it continuously, however many steps your space allows you to. it can help you improve stamina and your physical fitness by doing it for a longer period of time. And that's something that one of our benefits from Tai Chi is if we practice doing it and doing it often, then we can hold out for doing the other things in our life. And that's what I mean by stamina. We're more physically fit. We're more physically able because we take the time to actually do our exercise. All right. Is there anything in particular that you want to go over?
I don't think so.
Okay. Do you want to do some more going through our basic 6? Do you want to wrap it up, or do you want to move on to the first movement of advanced?
Let's move on to the advanced.
Okay, very good. All right, so here's our first. Just watch me this time, and then we'll go over the parts. But I just want you to see what the first advanced movement and is called brush knee. So this is the first movement in brush knee. Now I'm going to have to practice doing this and doing mirror image, but here's what it looks like. That's brush knee. And what's these movements can be done seated, but just the arm movements. Obviously, it's changing direction. I'm facing the front, and then I'm facing to the left. So if I change direction, you're not going to do that in your chair. So you're more likely to fall out of your chair. So again, it's going from forward facing to the left. Now, in order to go from here to there, I'm not going to jump because that wouldn't be very Tai Chi of me. So I have to do what? Weight transfer my way through it. So I'm coming from open and close because that's the end of our basic 6. I shift. I told you I'm going to have to work on my mirror image. I shift left, and I'm going to turn that right toe in. Now, when I turned that right toe in, I kept that right heel on the ground. So I sort of pivoted my foot. Depending on your floor and your shoe, that may be a little difficult. So my shoe, excuse me, my shoe is rubber bottom and this floor is carpet. So rubber and carpet, they don't work real smoothly together. So keeping that in mind, I have to make sure more weight is shifted to that left foot so I can pivot that foot. It can't have that much weight on it or it won't turn. So how does that feel whenever you shift left and turn your right toe in? How does that feel, Miss Legenia?
That's okay.
Okay. How does it feel for your knee when you turn that foot in? Does it feel okay on your knee or does it hurt?
No, it feels okay.
Okay, good. See, sometimes, especially if people either need a knee replacement or sometimes if they've had a knee replacement, they have a hard time turning that toe in. That hurts their knee. So if you ever get in that kind of situation, or if somebody's watching the video and they're thinking, oh, me, what were you going to say? I'll say it. Try shifting right and then stepping out with your left foot. So that widens your stance and you don't have to turn that foot in. That may cause a whole different pain for you. For me, I feel fine turning that toe in. For me, stepping out, I start feeling pressure on this knee. So it doesn't hurt, but just always be aware of what your body's telling you and listen to your body. So there's always an adjustment that we can make. This program is intended to be modifiable. So we can modify the movement. And if we take one step, then maybe you need to take an extra step. And that's what's helpful for you. And that's not a problem. So don't just listen to your body and then let me know if I can help you come up with the appropriate modifiable movement. But the movement is shift left, right toe in. So we're just going to work on the footwork. Shift left, right toe in. All right, now I'm going to shift my weight to my right foot. And I'm going to bring my left foot back. I call that a prepare because I'm getting ready to step left. So I'm going from the front to the left. It's shift left, right toe in. Shift right, prepare, and step left. All right, what you think about that?
That's not too bad.
All right, so here we go. Shift right, left foot in. Sorry, I wasn't doing mirror image. Shift left, right toe in. Shift right, prepare, and step. So now I'm working on going towards the left. I'm going to shift left and follow step right. So that you see how my right foot is further back than my left. That's a follow step foot. We're getting ready to do several follow step foots. And when you follow step, that follow step is not beside, it's back. It's further back. Sometimes a follow step foot is, hold on just a second, Miss Legenia. My son is calling and I always answer when my kids call.
Okay, that's fine.
Hey. Yeah. What? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh my goodness. So you found your keys. Good. I'm glad. Love you. Oh. Does he have a driver's license? You leave it there. Call me back in about 10 minutes. All right. Congratulations. All right, love you. Bye. My son lost his keys to his car. And so he had to leave his car at the football game last night. But then he had to drive my husband's truck to school today. So he has 2 vehicles at school. And he said his keys were on a black lanyard. And in his locker at the football, his football locker room, he had a black shirt hanging up and the black lanyard was hanging on top of the black shirt and it blended in. So he has found his keys. Now he's trying to figure out how to get 2 vehicles home. So that's not the part I'm worried about right now. I just wanted to make sure that he's okay. So that's just a rule I have, and I know you understand, but that's a rule I have about if my kids call me or if their school calls me, I always answer. I don't care what I'm doing.
I did the same thing.
The world has gone crazy. So, I guess the world has always been some kind of crazy, but this is the only time I've ever been a parent. So I just always want to be prepared for whatever they're fixing to call and tell me.
Enjoy it while you can because it goes away too quick.
Oh, Lord. Well, I have an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old, and I feel that some days, you look back at those little pictures and you go, Oh, I miss I miss them when they were little.
They grow up too fast.
And so now me and my husband talk about grandchildren. Like we're closer to grandchildren, you know, so we get to love on grandchildren and just send them back home. We don't have to worry about raising them because the raising
Yeah.
them is hard.
And I am a great grandmother again.
Oh, I love it. That is
I'm
amazing.
now. She was born last week.
Oh, congratulations. And what is her name?
Darby Joe.
Oh, that's so cute. I love it.
Yeah.
My babysitter growing up, name was Erin, but she had a sister named Darby, and my little brother couldn't say Darby, and so he called her Doy Doy. Doy Doy. That was her name. His whole life was Doy Doy. Even when he did learn to talk, he still called her Doy Doy. Well, congratulations. That's just what I look forward to, is just loving little babies and not having the big responsibility of making sure they turn out all right.
That's right.
And I have teenagers now, so they're really good teenagers. They don't really cause me any trouble at all. But I always say that grandchildren are God's reward for not killing your teenagers.
That's right. Can I catch his phone, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Just finishing up a fire. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Well, let's cool ourselves down, but we'll get back next week to our advanced movements, but that gives you a little taste of what's next. We're going places. We're fixing to go to the left. We're fixing to, let me just show it to you. We're going to brush knee. We're going to play the lute. We're going to parry, and punch. Block and close. Push the tiger to the front, open and close, and then we're going to do it all to the right. If I said, yeah, we're going to do it to the right. I have to speak opposite. So that's what we have to look forward to with our advanced movements. Be patient. Remember, they're called advanced, therefore we know they're more difficult. So be patient and we'll take our time through them. So let's give ourselves a little fist massage. But doesn't that look cool? The advanced movements. Do you have those handouts, the advanced 6?
I'm not sure, but I'll double check and see.
Okay, double check. I think I sent them out, but that doesn't mean I did.
Okay.
I may have given them to somebody else. So just let me know.
Okay.
All right. Gather and release. Gather and release. One more. Gather and release. Big circle. Whoever watches this video, they'll get real confused at the end, won't they? We're answering phone calls. We're taking care of business. One more. We have our right fist that represents our strength. Our left fingers together is our friendship. Our finger bent in is our humility. Put those together, and in mutual respect, we say namaste. Well, I've enjoyed it, Miss Eugenia. It's been just us today. I'm so sorry if either Miss Gwen or Miss Betty tried to get on and couldn't find me, or I wouldn't let you in. I tell you, my brain's going to be all right by next Tuesday. So y'all hang in there with me. I'll get some sleep at some point. All right. Well, I love you. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Let me know if I can do anything for you.
All right. And I love you
All right.
too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.